If QuickBooks 2019 is not on the shelves already, it's going to be within just a week or two. So what are some of the new things in QuickBooks 2019? Is there a reason for you to upgrade? Is there something here that would be really handy for you? So we're going to look at maybe the half dozen or so most important new changes that are coming with QuickBooks 2019. The first is what QuickBooks calls Invoice Tracker. This information was actually in QuickBooks before, has been for a number of years. It was just more difficult to find. Now it's very easy to access. So if I look at right there we go, Babcock Music. Look at this invoice. You'll see this blue link, and it's actually on all invoices. I just want to make sure I found an invoice that would give the information so you could see what this would do. But this blue link right here, that's what's new. And if I click on that, it gives me this little information box, tells me when the invoice was created, and all these dates, of course, are in 2023 because this is a sample file and they always date those in the future. It also tells me when payment was received on this invoice. It also tells me when that payment was put into a bank deposit, and that bank deposit was created in QuickBooks. If you ever have to trace out payments for invoice or wonder, how did that invoice get paid? Where is that payment? Where is the deposit? This can be handy information. So I like that change. I like it being so easy to find that. Another improvement, this is one that we've really wanted for some time. If you are in a business where you track jobs or projects, something like that underneath your customers, you can see here in the sample file where each customer has 1 or 2 jobs underneath it. If you finish one job and there was a little bit of a credit left over and you were starting another one, you wanted to move that credit, it was really difficult to do. It was very awkward. Well, now if I want to create a payment on this second story job, I'm going to go up here and I'm going to pick Receive Payments. The credit down here, the unused credit, if you can read that, it says across all jobs for this customer. That's new. It's in 2019, and that is probably one of my favorite attributes about the new program. So actually, this is the second story job. I could show you the deeper history, but I won't take time to do that. This credit actually applies to Brian Cook's kitchen job. So now we are not restricted to whatever job or project that credit was for. Any other project that we open for the customer, we want to receive a payment, we're going to see the credits regardless of the job they originally applied to. Very nice. When you create a check, so those of you that have been using QuickBooks for a while, you probably know that every once in a while you might create a check to somebody and they have outstanding bills. Okay, paused for a moment there because the window that I was looking for opened behind some other programs. This is what I'm looking for. So you know when you go to create a check and that particular vendor has open bills that should be paid through pay bills, QuickBooks gives you warning messages telling you, you sure you don't want to go to pay bills. Well, so this isn't that different, but what's been added is this go to pay bills. So I can click this button right here and it will take me directly to the pay bills function if this is actually supposed to be a payment on a bill rather than a separate check. So just a small improvement there on the warning that we used to have. If you track inventory in QuickBooks, one thing that we always used to have to look for is inactive items on inventory reports. So for someone that is tracking inventory, I'll always look at an inventory report and I'll take a look at the value of the inventory that's on hand, in this case, this $25,747, and compare that to a balance sheet, which a financial statement, to make sure that it's the same, that there aren't errors. And there are a number of things that can cause there to be a difference between the balances, and I have to go search those things out and try to correct them. The two should be in sync. If the general ledger says there's $25,747 in inventory, well, then the inventory report should have the same number. Well, one of the things that could cause that were inactive inventory items that still had a quantity on hand, which you should never do, by the way. If you are going to make an inventory item inactive, clear the amount on hand to 0 before you do that. But for those that haven't done that, I now have this checkbox right here that says show inactive inventory items. We did not have that before. I would have to go through the entire item list looking to see if there was an inactive inventory item with quantity on hand. Now there it is, and you see just by checking that box, that raised that to almost $3,000. So there was an inactive item there with inventory on hand. So another very nice improvement. This one, I'm just going to point out, actually, this really isn't for QuickBooks users. This is more for developers of third-party software that integrates with QuickBooks. Now, import files, or importing IIF files, perhaps I should say. So that would be a file importing from another software usually and integrating into QuickBooks that now has more error checking than it used to have, like no error checking. Now it has a little error checking, and there are also messages helping those developers to find out why their files are not importing properly. So that's a very nice improvement, but it's not something that most QuickBooks users are going to see. Okay, last thing we're going to look at is a new condense option. If your QuickBooks file getting too big, you want to make it smaller, we'd always use the condense, or sometimes I should say, we would use the condense feature. That's also in utilities here. Go down to condense data. This option is the one that we used to have. Remove transactions you select. And you had a couple of options as far as how far back you wanted to go. I only want to keep the last year of data. I want to keep the last 2 years of data. Whatever your choice was, that's what you had. This is what's new. Now you can remove or keep all the transactions, but remove the audit trail. In QuickBooks, every transaction, every transaction that's created, each time it's edited, changed, deleted, voided, all of those activities are tracked on an audit trail, and you can look at a report that will tell you what happened to that transaction and who did it and when. It takes up a lot of space though. So now you can create, this procedure will create a copy of your QuickBooks file that will preserve that audit trail, but then it will strip it out of the live file that you're going to use going forward, and it will shrink the file. They estimate around 40%. I've tried it a couple of times, and yes, that's accurate. It really shrinks the size of the file, which helps the file then run a little bit faster, and you can get maybe a couple more years out of it before you have to create a new QuickBooks file. So I hope that helps. That's what's new. If any of those things look really interesting to you, you might want to take a look at QuickBooks 2019. Thanks for watching.